I had always thought I knew my life, comfortable, predictable, and safe. My routine was simple. I worked during the day, came home to a quiet house, and spent time with my husband in the evenings. Nothing ever really changed. Until one afternoon, when everything shifted without warning. It was a Thursday, the kind of day where the rain felt like it had been falling forever, the gray clouds pressing down on the world. I was sitting in the living room, my legs tucked underneath me, sipping tea while scrolling through my phone. The house was unusually quiet. My husband, Peter, was at work, and I had the house to myself for the first time in weeks. At first, I relished the stillness, the space to think without distractions. But as the hours stretched on, the silence started to feel heavier, like it was pressing in on me, making the air harder to breathe. I hadn't expected the knock at the door. It was soft at first, almost tentative. I hesitated for a moment, unsure who could be visiting. But when I opened the door, it wasn't a neighbor or a friend. It was Tom, my stepfather. "Hey," he said, his voice calm but with an underlying urgency. "I need to talk to you for a moment." I felt a rush of unease course through me. Tom was a good man, kind, always respectful, but we had never been particularly close. He was my stepfather, and while we got along well enough, there was always a boundary I kept up between us. It wasn't anything personal, it just felt right. "Sure," I said, trying to mask the slight tension in my voice. "Come on in." He stepped inside, his expression serious, the usual friendly demeanor replaced by something more intense. I couldn't place it. Something about the way he was acting felt off, like he had something important to say, something that wasn't easy to talk about. "I wasn't sure how to bring this up," he began, his eyes avoiding mine for a moment. "But I've been thinking a lot, and I need your help with something. It's a bit unusual." I felt my pulse quicken. I didn't know why, but the way he said those words made my stomach tighten. Unusual? What could it possibly be? He looked at me then, his gaze more focused than usual. "I don't want to make you uncomfortable," he continued, his tone almost pleading. "But there's something I've been struggling with, and I think you're the only one who might understand." I wasn't sure where this conversation was going, but something inside me urged me to stay calm, to listen. Maybe he was just having a rough time, needing someone to confide in. But as he spoke, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a simple request. "I've always seen you as someone who can handle difficult situations," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully. "And I really need your help right now. I don't know who else to turn to." His vulnerability was strange, almost out of place. Tom had always been strong, dependable. But now, standing before me, he seemed fragile, uncertain. I didn't know what to make of it. "What do you need, Tom?" I asked, my voice softer than I intended, a sense of anticipation building in my chest. He took a deep breath, his eyes meeting mine with an intensity one hadn't seen before. "I need you to trust me," he said, his voice steady but low. "And I need you to help me with something that's beyond normal." I wasn't sure what he meant, but I could feel the weight of his words pressing down on me. I had no idea what was coming, but whatever it was clear that it would change everything between us. "I know this is a lot to ask," he added, his tone thick with emotion. "But I'm asking you because I don't know where else to go. Please." The room seemed to close in around me, and for the first time in my life, I realized that nothing would be the same after today. My stepfather had crossed a line, and what he was about to ask of me was something I could never have anticipated. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to walk away just yet. Something inside me told me I couldn't. The air in the room felt heavier with each passing second, the tension between us growing like a living thing. I tried to steady my breathing, but my mind was racing, caught between confusion and something else, something I couldn't quite name. Tom stood there, waiting for me to respond, his eyes searching mine as if looking for any sign that I understood what he was about to ask. I had no idea what he meant by beyond normal, but the urgency in his voice made it clear this wasn't a casual request. I wasn't sure what kind of help he needed, but I knew it was something serious, something personal. "Tom, what are you asking me to do?" My voice trembled, but I couldn't help it. I was trying to hold on to some semblance of control, but it was slipping away with every word he spoke. He took a step closer, his expression softening. I never thought I'd be in this position. I never wanted to put you in a place where you had to choose between helping me or walking away. But I don't know what else to do. I've been feeling stuck, trapped, and there's something inside me that I need to confront. It's been eating at me for months now, and I'm afraid I can't do it alone. I need someone I trust. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to process what he was saying. What could he possibly need from me? There was an unspoken desperation in his words that made my stomach twist in knots. I wasn't sure what to think, but there was a part of me that felt compelled to help, even though every instinct screamed for me to run. I can't do this alone, he repeated, his voice more urgent now. I need your support. I need you to help me face what I've been hiding. Please, just hear me out. I stepped back, my mind racing as I tried to wrap my head around everything. Was he asking for emotional support? Or was this something else entirely? My thoughts collided, but I knew I had to keep listening. I couldn't turn away from him, not when he was asking so sincerely. I don't understand, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What are you hiding? Tom seemed to hesitate, and for the first time, he looked unsure, like he wasn't sure if he should go on. But after a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice barely audible. It's about my past. About things I've done that I'm not proud of. Things that I've tried to forget, but they're coming back. And I need you to help me face them, help me make things right. I didn't know what he meant, but my mind flashed back to earlier in the conversation, to the way he had looked at me with that intensity. Something was off, but I couldn't pinpoint it. It was almost like he was searching for redemption, and in some twisted way, I felt like he was asking me to be the one to provide it. Tom, I started, but before I could finish, he reached out, gently grabbing my hand. His touch was firm, almost desperate, and my body tensed at the unexpected contact. I know this isn't easy for you, he said, his voice low, filled with emotion. But I can't do this alone. Will you help me? His words hung in the air, and for a moment, everything felt like it was suspended in time. I wasn't sure what to do, what to say. Part of me wanted to run, to escape from whatever this was. But the other part of me, something deeper, wanted to stay. I felt torn, unsure of the consequences, but still unable to turn away from his plea for help. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I'm not sure what you're asking for, Tom. But if you need help, I'll listen. I'll support you, but I can't promise anything beyond that. He let out a breath he'd been holding, the tension in his shoulders finally easing. He nodded, looking both relieved and ashamed, as if just saying it out loud had taken a weight off his chest. Thank you, he whispered, his grip on my hand loosening slightly. I don't know what I was expecting, but just knowing you're here means everything. As I sat there, my heart still racing, I realized something. This moment, this conversation, had shifted everything between us. I didn't know where it would lead, but I knew that whatever came next, we were no longer just stepfather and stepdaughter. We had crossed a line I couldn't yet fully understand. Tom didn't have the answers. I didn't either. But for the first time, I felt like maybe we could face whatever came next together. But as I stood up and walked toward the door, a thought lingered in my mind. Sometimes, the lines between right and wrong blur in ways we never expect. And while I had agreed to help him, I couldn't help but wonder if I had just made a choice that would change everything, not just for him, but for both of us. The door closed behind me, but the weight of what had just happened stayed with me, unanswered and heavy. I wasn't sure where this road would take us, but one thing was certain. Everything had already begun to change.